Welcome to Corrective Consciousness episode 200. Wow.
What?
Yeah, 200, Lotus Prince.
Whoa.
The
I've been in probably like 196 of them or something.
I don't know. I think you've only missed one or two.
It was a little more than that. There were a couple of times where it was like, I want to have 3 people. Let's have these other 2 people. See what happens when they interact with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even remember if I might have called out like once.
Yeah, exactly. And I've missed about 4 or 5 episodes myself. So
Yeah.
that
hosted a couple. Old Man Stompy's hosted a couple.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't miss very often, and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But we have never missed an episode. Though we've never missed a release.
The releases have never not happened.
Yeah, we've been very consistent. Yeah. So that is the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture.
Oh yeah.
So wow, we've been doing this for quite some time then, huh?
No. Oh, okay. Bye.
There's 52 weeks in a year.
Yes.
So almost
That's
4
like
years.
10 years. I mean, yeah, what you said.
I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is
Lotus Prince.
If we have not established that already, man, we're off to a good start on our 200th episode. Spectacular. But we are very excited to have gotten this far. Of course, most podcasts don't get to this length for sure, and we've stayed relatively stable with our listenership and our interaction. So we really want to thank our fans. This has gotten us here. So
Absolutely.
This has been a lot of fun, and you and I will continue to do this in the foreseeable future. I don't see myself stopping anytime.
You know what we should do? So. We should make this a flashback episode and just play a bunch of old clips and just stop our recording here after 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
It would be
the easiest podcast ever.
It would be kind of fun to go back into the archive to listen for gold, but it would be an extreme amount of work, especially with 4 years worth of content.
Yeah.
But
no, what we should do is we should not play any transition sounds, the little harp sounds when the picture fades into a flashback. don't do any of that. Just play an old clip, and it'll be extremely disorienting because at first you won't be able to tell it's an old clip because it all the recording quality just sounds the same.
Well, we should have done a flashback episode, the second episode,
like Clerks
did.
Series.
But they,
I mean, I have to admit though, kind of unfortunately, most of the flashbacks were crazy stuff that we never saw, so they weren't really flashbacks. It would have been kind of funny if they actually just flashbacked the first episode
No, that's actually what happened, but they released the episodes out of order.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was they released that episode first. So it didn't make any sense because they were flashing back.
There's only fucking 6 episodes. How do you release them out of order?
To shit that happened in the episode that they made before that. And then they only showed one other episode after that, which was the 4th episode, which is arguably their best episode. And then they canceled it. So it really sucked that they did that to that series because it was quite good.
That was a pretty funny series.
It was only 6 episodes long, kind of like Mission Hill was. Mission Hill was pretty short-lived as well, but and Oblongs was pretty short-lived as well.
When is Kevin Smith gonna do a Clerks 2 animated series?
An animated series based 6 episodes based off of Clerks 2.
Even though it's all just Clerks. No, specifically Clerks 2.
Well, he made a theatrical animated movie, but apparently everybody hated it. So he
seems to be pretty hit or miss.
Never seen the light of day, but everybody seems to like the reboot movie. I didn't get a chance to watch that myself, but I would like to go ahead and watch that. But I just haven't gotten to that. But that is not our topic for today's discussion, Lotus.
Oh, we're not doing a flashback episode or talking about Kevin Smith movies and shows?
No, we are actually going to be talking about one of our favorite developers, From Software.
Yeah, From Software is great.
So, From Software is, of course, really well known these days for the Demon Souls or Soulsborne series, and of course, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and the newest game,
more recently, Sekiro.
And they went from being a very rinky-dink publisher or developer to one of the biggest AAA studios currently active.
And it's funny because they've been pretty prolific like the entire time. They've been pumping out games like crazy since the PS1. It's just that nobody cared about them or even liked them, except for maybe Armored Core.
Yeah, I was going to say
Demon Souls.
I was going to say that in the PS1 days, the Kingsfield series was not beloved. It was kind of joked about back then.
Oh yeah, because those games were like, I mean, if you thought the Souls games were vague, I mean, at least you could figure out where to go. Like, follow this place till the end where there's a boss. Maybe you don't know how to solve certain character sub-stories or whatever, and the plot's all weird and convoluted, but, like, you can figure out how to beat the damn game. Kingsfield, you couldn't even do that. You had to really just experiment with everything.
Yeah, so, I guess we could really start in the beginning. So their first 3 games were actually the Kingsfield games for the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, which America only got 2 of.
Yeah.
Because the original Kingsfield is janky to the point where even running it in a PSIO has crashes. And I was like, oh no, is my PSIO broken? No, it's not.
Yeah, and the company started off as a productivity software developer, back in like 1986, with the year we were born, actually. And
that we got a thing with that going on. Berserk started when we were born.
Yeah,
I think
true.
JoJo started when we were born. From Software, 86 is a good year.
Yeah, 86 brought us a lot of good things. So Corrective Consciousness as well, as a result. So, but...
I was going to say, Corrective Consciousness, I don't think started in 86.
Yeah, it kind of did, in a way, with the birth of us, But anyway, Kingsfield was their first real game, and that was in December 16th, 1994. So this was one of the very, very, very first PlayStation 1 titles, if you couldn't tell by that by that date. I think that was they launched the PlayStation 1 during that time, in Japan at least. So I don't think it came to America until 95. Ever. No, I meant the PlayStation 1. Until 95.
Oh, the system. Okay.
Yeah. It was. I definitely recommend people look at your Let's Play. Did you end up in the end enjoying playing that?
With a guide, yes, I really did. Because when you first start playing the game, I was kind of doing it almost as a joke, because I had streamed Eternal Ring a while back, and it was it was almost like a miniature meme. I can't wait to play more Eternal Ring, because that game was also kind of like a laughingstock of its day.
Why did you start with Eternal Ring out of all of them?
I don't think I had a particular passion for it. It was just one of those things where it's like,
I have
when
this.
When am I gonna play this?
Yeah.
Now's the time. So Kingsfield, I was cringing in advance because Eternal Ring plays super clunky. I didn't realize at the time, but it played with Kingsfield controls. And for people who don't know, it did not, despite being a PS2 game, it did not use the joysticks at all. You turned left and right with the left and right keys. It was like classic Doom, where you don't strafe, you turn. And forward and back is up and down like you'd expect. But looking up and down, you can do that. But again, no sticks. Especially, on the launch PS1, where the PS1 controller didn't even have sticks at the time. You can strafe left and right with L1 and R1, and you look up and down with L2 and R2. it feels clunky as hell when you first play it, but you actually can get used to it. And I was cringing when I was getting ready to play Kingsfield 1 because it's like Eternal Ring, only an early PS1 title. I was like, oh no. But it actually plays well enough to be playable. It's okay, but the games get better and more advanced as they released. Kingsfield 2, what America knows as Kingsfield 1, is definitely more ambitious than its predecessor, and the next title in the series, again, more ambitious than its predecessor. It's really cool to see where they go.
Yeah, I actually just looked this up. So, PlayStation 1 was released in Japan December 3rd, 1994. So this game came out like the second week of its
very,
life.
Very early.
Yeah. So they were in on it early, and so they were early supporters of PlayStation, obviously. So it's pretty cool that they've been here this whole time, and from there, I knew them first mainly from Armored Core. I played it was a game that I rented. I actually was acquainted with Armored Core because when I bought my PlayStation 1, it came with a demo disc, and it had a lot of games on it. And it had like a lot of games that were emblematic of what the system could do, which is, a really good thing for a demo disc to have that comes with your system. And, I didn't have any, I had, not all that much money back then, so I kind of just played my demo discs over and over again and just checked them out. So I played Armored Core 1 on there quite a bit, just to fool around. I think it had one or two levels on it, and also like a stripped down versus mode. So I played around with that a little bit, as well as a few other games were on that demo disc. They had like Parappa the Rapper was on there.
Oh sure.
What was Colony Wars was on there? If you remember what Colony Wars was, it was that space flight sim by Psygnosis.
Oh wow.
The company that made the Wipeout games.
The company that made Sentient.
Sentient Lotus.
SENSH Sentient.
Sentient.
That game is bizarre. Also highly ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, Psygnosis made all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, they were well known as the makers of the Shadow of the Beast, like way back in the day. The game that looks great and plays terrible. But they're mostly well known for doing the Wipeout games in their later life, and the Wipeout games have some really strong fans out there. But anyway, Armored Core was always a lot of fun because of the amount of customizability. Even back then, on the PlayStation 1, we never really saw customizability like what they had in that game. You could change. You could do a gradient of colors on each component that you added to your mech.
That's cool.
Which was really neat. So you could get very elaborate with how your mech worked and performed.
It's kind of funny because while Kingsfield seems to be a sort of like proto Souls style game, considering how many things carried over into it, it was always in the first person, not the third. So, every FromSoft game I've played on the PS1 has been in the first person, because I haven't played Armored Core.
Mm-hmm.
But Armored Core being able to make a gradient out of the things you equip, that's translated into the Souls games as well.
Yeah.
Or not things you equip, but, your base character when you create it.
And also, everything down to, encumbrance and things like that. That was a big
encumbrance, deal. I forgot which came first. Was Armored Core before Shadow Tower?
Yes.
Okay, so it originated in Armored Core then, because Shadow Tower has it.
Yeah, so encumbrance is also a big factor in Dark Souls and Demon Souls.
Especially Demon Souls.
Yeah, especially in Demon Souls, and I didn't understand that at the time, so I got pretty frustrated with the game.
Because in Kingsfield, items did have weight, but all I think that really affected was At this point, I forgot. It was either your recovery time from a swing of your sword, or maybe like your run gauge or whatever.
Sure.
I guess they're both the same thing. Actually, they're both a stamina meter. But in Shadow Tower, it actually would affect your movement.
So Armored Core was a mech game that was an action game at its heart. It was an action game. However, the thing that made it popular was the sheer amount of customizability that I've been talking about. Now, the thing was, back then, my thought process was that was kind of like a min-maxy kind of thing. I wanted to fit as much equipment on it as I could without going over. And that was the wrong way to play it, because just like how it did in Demon Souls later, your character also performs completely differently if he's all way down.
If you put on all the heavy armor, then your defense will be great, but you can't sprint anymore. You either have a terrible roll or you can't roll at all.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I got so frustrated with Demon Souls early on when I played with it, because
Demon Souls punishes hard.
Yeah,
because in Dark Souls, the only stuff that officially has weight is the stuff that you equip. Like, you can have 2 suits of armor, but it only counts the one that you're wearing.
Exactly.
But in Demon Souls, everything you picked up, including consumable items, had weight. So, like, I would find, like, a unique sword, like a heavy sword, and it'll be like, well, guess what? Throw something away if you feel like playing the game some more. Like, oh, god damn it. So it would be so frustrating.
I remember I worked really hard to get one of the best shields in the game, which is like that purple shield that you could get from
one of the best shields in the game, available in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it is one of the best shields.
It is extremely good early game, though.
And it's like it can. I don't think it's weak to anything. It's resistant to pretty much everything.
Well, no shield is weak to anything.
Or it's resistant to pretty much everything.
Yeah, especially heat. I think it was called the purple dragon shield.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
But the thing is, you're not really supposed to be able to get it until a little bit later, because you need to kill the blue dragon to get it, I think.
You don't have to. You could run in and grab it, and then it just fucking kills you, and then you have it.
Yeah. But that's how I chip damaged that thing to get that, and then
fought it that early. That's gutsy, because what you're kind of supposed to do is play until you're way farther in the game, where the blue dragon gets up and leaves and is a boss later, so it's just not guarding that anymore.
No, I just straight up killed it with arrows.
That's insane. Like,
I sat there for like 2 or 3 hours and killed that goddamn thing.
I thought it was hard enough to do that to the red dragon, and that took me like 12-15 minutes.
Well,
and you're supposed to be able to kill it.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. But
and it still sucks.
Yeah. But that's what I did, and once I got it, I found out that I couldn't even really use it because I didn't have enough strength to wield it.
That's true. Yeah, you need, on top of encumbrance, you need strength to be able, like, you need a minimum strength requirement to be able to properly equip the thing.
Yeah,
you could equip whatever you want, but like, you can't really use it.
So I worked really hard and then ended up not being able to use it because of that. So anyway, Armored Core would set up that sort of gameplay mechanic way early on for the From Software games. I did like messing around with the one-on-one fighting. Had a really fun split screen mode, and for the time the graphics were really cool looking. Even though they're on the blocky side, it looked neat. They would set up like whole forests beneath you because you're in a big mech.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun, and in Japan it was especially popular because of the amount of customizability. It got a really big fan base going. So they later followed up with Armored Core Project Phantasma, which is basically, a continuation of that original game. I should go over that, like, what the conceit of the game is. You're mercenaries working for different companies, trying to like do corporate sabotage on each other. It's kind of it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, to the point where it's basically referencing things like the PC Classic Syndicate, where
Oh, wow.
where it's not really countries that are fighting anymore. In the future, it's companies fighting each other.
Well, and that was kind of Metal Gear Solid 4's conceit as well, where not so much that it's companies fighting each other, but armies no longer have a loyalty to a particular country.
Yeah,
they're all just PMCs.
Highest bidder.
Yeah.
Armored Core Project Phantasma was a continuation of that. Unfortunately, it didn't get a release in Europe. But then Shadow Tower was after this. I don't know much about Shadow Tower. What do you know about this one?
Shadow Tower is Kingsfield 4, except it's not called Kingsfield. Like, I mean, it's close enough. I mean, it doesn't have the Kingsfield lore, but it's basically like an upgraded Kingsfield game. But the thing with Kingsfield is
it's a first-person dungeon crawler, just like
it plays very, very similarly. Because in the original Kingsfield, it reminds me of Grimrock in that the whole game is a dungeon, and it's you go down the floors. They didn't even have stairs. You would step into an exit tile and teleport to the next floor. It was very bare bones. In Kingsfield 2, there was like a world to explore. You're outside, so that made me think of Grimrock 2. I'm like, whoa, more possibilities, and you could go to this location. Oh no, it's too hard for me. I could go there if I'm suicidal, but I should go to this other location, like the Souls games do. You could go anywhere, but they'll punish you. And then the next Kingsfield game was even more advanced, and there were more seamless transitions between areas, instead of like long, awkward, weird hallways. But Shadow Tower, you're in a tower, and strangely, you're not climbing it. You're descending it. I guess it goes underground. But the tower is divided into what are called worlds. There's the human world where you fight like skeletons and some weird spider things, but then you go into like earth worlds. The worlds are weird. It's not earth, fire, wind, water. Like, it does cover those four, but then there's like beast world or something, and like illusion world. But you just keep going down these floors. What I like about Shadow Tower is that there's like over 100 different enemy types. Like, it's not just palette swaps either. There are like a couple palette swaps, but there's an incredible amount of enemy diversity. And another conceit of Shadow Tower is that in Kingsfield, it plays like most games, where once you get enough experience, you level up. But in Shadow Tower, everything you kill marginally increases your stats. So you're constantly leveling up. So you really want to just sweep the entire game and clear everything out, because enemies will not respawn. So it's interesting in that regard. You can definitively clear an enemy or a level. What's also interesting is that there's kind of a new game plus. When you clear the game and you load your clear data, you start at the very top. So you could just sweep out the last remaining enemies now that you've beaten the game and have all the cool equipment and everything. I should mention, by the way, Shadow Tower apparently does not introduce encumbrance. I guess that was Armored Core. But Shadow Tower, unless you correct me on this, Shadow Tower introduced the concept of weapons breaking down and you need to repair them at a smith.
Yeah,
like in Armored Core you wouldn't have a smith, but does it have weapon degradation?
So Armored Core didn't have that, but you did have to repair like your mech in between stages,
okay.
and also you would have to replace ammunition. So
Okay.
like that game got very crunchy, meaning like it got really in detail on like what you needed to watch, because most games you don't need to really care about like ammo, or like if you do, you could just pick up more ammo on the ground.
Yeah.
But like in this game, like you had to pay you were a mercenary, so you needed to watch what you consumed.
Because I was going to say Shadow Tower handles this really interestingly because, well, first of all, Demon Souls like downgrades the encumbrance thing, because in Shadow Tower it's only what you equip and consumable items don't count, and in Demon Souls they do. But what's really interesting is that, you know how like a lot of games, including Demon Souls, there are different levels of healing items.
Yeah.
In Dark Souls, you just have your Estus flasks. That's basically it. But in Demon
But you had
Souls,
crescent grass and
you had full
half
moon grass,
grass.
half moon grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Shadow Tower, I mean, I don't believe you have a heal spell. I don't think you do. I'm kind of flaking on this one, but you have healing potions, but they will heal you to full upon use. What's interesting is that if you want to repair your weapons, there are some merchants that take coins, but the repair merchant takes health. So you actually
Fuck that,
literally,
man.
you literally pay in blood. The good news is you can bring yourself down to like the minimum amount of HP and then just use one healing potion.
But what a fucking terrible mechanic.
It's not so bad. Like the Kingsfield games, the scariest part of the game is like the very beginning.
Sure.
Once you've really established yourself,
the Souls
games
so are all like that. The very beginning of the game sucks, and then
yeah,
and then once you hit your stride, you have some certain plateaus that you hit,
yes.
Of course, but like it nothing like it feels like at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, there comes a point where you get the idea. Like not everything can like 3-shot you.
Yeah.
But one thing I really love observing about this the Kingsfield games and Shadow Tower is like the graphics and presentation getting a little better with each game.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially the skeletons, because the skeletons are in almost every FromSoft game. I mean, obviously not like Armored Core, but look at Kingsfield 1, 2, and 3, and then Shadow Tower. The skeletons, they just get better and better. Like it's amazing, and I haven't seen them yet in Kingsfield 4, Ancient City. I look forward to seeing that, and then you know what they look like in Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Still progressively looking better. It's just really exciting to see the evolution of the skeleton in the FromSoft games. One thing I found really funky, though, is that FromSoft sometimes has weird multiplayer stuff. Like in the Souls games, you could summon an ally or something, or sometimes it turns to PvP. But then there's weirdness. Like in Shadow Tower, this cracks me up just for its existence. Where are you going to find two people who own Shadow Tower? Like, I mean, on PS3, it's not so bad. But the idea was on PS1, if you had two people who had Shadow Tower, or I suppose if you had two memory cards, for people who had Shadow Tower, you can actually go into this sort of multiplayer thing where you could select monsters that you've encountered and killed, and the other player could do the same. And you could pit them against each other and just see who wins, and play for ante. You each ante up an item that the other player might want, because you're not getting 100% of the items and weapons in the game. Like, I don't think it's possible. So you can actually ante in fucking Shadow Tower. It's the weirdest thing.
Weird.
And also, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Lost Kingdoms on the GameCube has some summons, or whatever you call them, that you can only get through multiplayer. So you can just do a multiplayer match with somebody else and like win, and then get like a unique thing from that. It's, again, how many people were competitively playing Lost Kingdoms? It's just bizarre to me. But before we get to that era, there's also, I just beat this recently, Echo Knight, which the control scheme is basically like Kingsfield's, although now you can duck under things, you can crouch, and you could also pick up some objects, like a chair that's in the way, and move it somewhere else. There are almost no enemies in Echo Knight. It's really more about puzzle solving and resolving these problems that these ghosts have on this ship. They're like, oh no, I'm missing my wedding ring. And you go into the past and you find it and you collect it, and you're back in the present and you give it back, and they're like, oh, thank you, and they disappear. It's just interesting to kind of resolve these NPCs' problems while you're trying to solve the problem that you have, which is that you're on this weird ghost ship and it's strange because you got here by investigating like a burnt down house from your father. There's a whole plot with like this mysterious redstone that's infecting people, but a lot of what you're doing is solving these ghost problems. And now the game actually has voice acting. I don't know about Armored Core, but Shadow Tower introduced, as far as I'm aware, introduced voice acting with dialogue. And I forgot what game introduced faces. Maybe that was also Shadow Tower, because Kingsfield's tended to have
like blank faces.
Blank faces, yeah. Eternal Ring, of course, had faces. I think Shadow Tower might be the one to have introduced
Echo
faces.
Knight definitely has faces because that's like an adventure game, right?
Yeah, Echo Knight has faces, but that came out after. That was after Shadow Tower. But going to Lost Kingdoms, one thing I find fascinating about the game, I'm not really too into it. I don't know if I'm going to stream that one. But the basic premise is Demon Souls. Everything was doing okay, but then one day, fog rolled into town, and now there's weird monsters and shit. It sucks.
There are 2 games, too, in that series, right?
Yeah, there's Lost Kingdoms 2.
Yeah.
Both of those are on the GameCube. And Lost Kingdoms 2 takes place, like 200 or 300 years after, so it's just, it's a whole different story. But yeah, everything was going normal, and then mysterious fog, and what do we do about it? Because that's the plot to Demon Souls, or the premise, I should say.
So I'm going to we don't have a whole lot more time, so I really want to touch on some of the lesser known items because
we've talked enough about Souls and
Bloodborne. Those games don't need any more exposure. They're extremely popular, but I wanted to talk about they actually had a game called Frame Guide it's their lone Dreamcast game. You should take a YouTube look at this game because it's really interesting. It is medieval Armored Core.
Okay.
So it's mechs, but with swords and shields and axes and stuff, and
I'll take it.
And medieval environments, with stone bridges and shit. I don't know if that fits in story wise, but it's pretty cool.
By the way, regarding kind of what you said about swords and shields and something, I should mention some tropes in FromSoft games. One of them being most of their games have the Moonlight Sword, including Armored Core. This is because I think the program they used to make Kingsfield was called something like Sword of Moonlight or something like that. So you can, the Moonlight Sword is a thing you could get in Kingsfield 1. It's a plot item in Kingsfield 2. I think you could, unlock it in Kingsfield 3 for, I think it was involved in getting the true ending or something. It was something weird like that. It's in Metal Wolf Chaos, which is the goofy mech game FromSoft has made, which only recently got a release in the West. It's not an Echo Knight, that wouldn't make sense. In Eternal Ring, they have the Eternal Sword. It's not the Moonlight Sword, but But I should also mention another trope is dragons. FromSoft loves its dragons. They're all over the Souls games. I don't think there's one in Bloodborne, but it would have fit somewhat reasonably well if they had tried.
Sure.
But even the very first game, the original Kingsfield has a dragon. It doesn't move. It's just kind of standing there. But you can see it through a window, and you're like, oh. And then you actually deal with the dragon more properly in Kingsfield 2. Kingsfield 3, Kingsfield 1 through 3, by the way, have lore talking about Seath, and Seath is in Dark Souls. I don't think it's the same Seath, kind of like how
sure.
Patches in Demon Souls and Dark Souls is not the same Patches, even though it's the same Patches.
Yeah.
Like Meryl is not the same in Police Knots and Metal Gear Solid, but everything about her is the same.
It's like an actor that they.
Yeah, so that's like Seath in Kingsfield versus Dark Souls. They're not the same, but they're the same. Another trope they have is kings being dead or cursed or corrupted in some way, because that's the basic plot of Kingsfield. That shows up in Shadow Tower. Even fucking Echo Knight had a murdered king whose ghost comes after you. I didn't expect that in Echo Knight. That really took me by surprise.
So, before we get too much in the weeds, because we do have to address our fan stuff for this week, I did want to go over a few other titles. You have The Adventures of Cookie and Cream, which is probably
I was going to mention that.
Their most uncharacteristic game that they ever released. It is a cute co-op action title where you play as two rabbits. So what was unique about this was that you could play it by yourself, but if you did, you would play the left side of the screen where one of the characters was with your left hand. So you would use the joystick. This was on PS2, so you had DualShock. You would use the analog stick, and then the action buttons would be the two shoulder buttons.
That's like Brothers: A Tale of Two
Yeah,
Sons.
yeah, exactly. They went back to that, but this was pretty cool because it was a really fun co-op game that you could play with somebody. And it was innovative for the time, and of course they went back to that concept with two brothers. But this is pretty neat. I recommend actually going back to that title. They re-released it on the DS later. Not really sure what they added or took away from it, but the PS2 one was a lot of fun. I actually
And it
owned
also
that.
cost like nothing.
Yeah, I owned it back in the day, and it's one of those games that still isn't well known, but it's actually quite a good game. Like you could go back to it, and it like holds up. It's a lot of fun.
And speaking of ones that aren't, speaking of a PS2 game that isn't very well known, you showed this one to me back in the day. The horror game Kuon.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a weird one. I actually didn't play too much of that, but I know it was just like a spooky, straight up horror game.
Yeah, yeah, and they never really made a straight up horror game other than Echo Knight. I guess you could call that.
Echo Knight. No,
Yeah.
like now that I've played it, Echo Knight is not a horror game.
Oh, okay. It's
It's
an adventure
really
game.
not. Everything is ghosts, but it's not a horror game.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is more of an adventure game. It looks like it could be a point and click, but you just happen to be able to move all around.
Exactly. But yeah,
The closest I
Kuon.
think they've come to horror would be like, well, we'll get there. I was gonna say Bloodborne, but like, there's another game. We'll get there.
But yeah, Kuon is their PlayStation 2 horror title, and this one doesn't get brought up nearly as much as other horror titles from this era because I don't think it's just as well known. But it's a good game. We played it, and I believe I did a little bit of research on this, and apparently, like, if you look up the translation of what Kuon means, it's basically like bump in the night, like. It's like the
No, I
Japanese
think
version
I
of
think
Bump
I
in the
mentioned
Night.
that during my Corpse Party playthrough. I don't think it was that.
Oh,
It was
really?
like yeah, like multiple people called me out on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's like Eternity or something like that. I'm gonna see if I
I
can't
could be
look
wrong.
that up.
But
I don't know.
maybe I just looked up the wrong thing when I did that.
Yeah, like
But yeah, it's a survival horror game, and it.
yeah, Eternity
Oh, okay. I was wrong.
or
Then.
Long or Distant. So yeah, there's nothing with that.
I don't know where I got that from then. But yeah, it I must have read that somewhere. But anyway, yeah, this is like actually one of the more expensive titles for the system nowadays.
Yeah, this has gone up.
Yeah, because it was not like really well known, but like just like horror fans tend to be like really into their genre, so like anything kind of holds its value or even shoots it up because horror video games are kind of have its own special cachet, and this one was a lot of fun. I'd like to revisit this one. Did you end up beating this?
No, that's gonna be because I've been streaming FromSoft games just with some exceptions, just like in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to eventually getting to that one.
Yeah, that's a good one to look back at. Let me see what else.
Well, one other thing I wanted to mention was regarding these. This one isn't very obscure, but it is overlooked. And it's very fun. They're not Zelda games, 3D Dot Game Heroes on the PS3.
Oh yeah, that one's
That game's
quite
a lot of fun, and
really
apparently
good.
you can get the Moonlight Sword in it.
Yeah, let me see what else. I wanted to mention some other of their more obscure titles. They were big supporters of the original Xbox. There were very few.
Yeah, Tenchu, right?
Well, the games that they were known for on the original Xbox were Otogi 1 and 2, which have
That's
not
right.
had never been ported to anything else or re-released anywhere else. So, and they were a lot of fun. They were more fast action games in the line of like Ninja Gaiden or something like that, or Devil May Cry or something like that from back in the day. These were really good titles and worth going back to, especially if you have an OG Xbox lying around. I think they're getting up there in price because, again, there weren't too many Japanese-made exclusive games for the original Xbox, and the ones that were usually really good.
Speaking of weird exclusives, by the way, going back to Tenchu, I think there was a 360 like downloadable only title.
Yeah, yeah. That one of those things. Let me see. Are you going to go back and play Evergrace or Forever Kingdom? Those are two of their
might.
PS2 games.
I only know one thing about each of those games. One, Evergrace, the entire soundtrack is a cappella, which is pretty interesting.
Neat.
And two, Forever Kingdom is a prequel to Evergrace. Otherwise, I don't know anything about them. I look forward to trying them
out. I played Armored Core 2 quite a bit because it was one of the first games released on the PlayStation 2. When the PlayStation 2 originally came out, there was Fantavision and Armored Core 2. Those were the big titles for when the original PlayStation 2 came out. I don't think there was...
Eternal Ring was also pretty early, I think.
Yeah, there were very few other launch window games that were worth playing. In fact...
My favorite is the back of Eternal Ring's box. Not all fantasies are final. You are picking the wrong fight, motherfucker. That's FromSoft's... That's embarrassing. FromSoft.
I remember that the original PS2 had so few games when it originally released that were worth playing that the thing that I used it for was beating Castlevania Symphony of the Night a second time.
PS1 games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and watching DVDs, of course, which was the big deal about it.
Cool.
Yeah. But Armored Core 2 was really cool, but again, at the time, I did not understand the weight issue, so I got really frustrated with the game. And also, at the beginning of the game, you have very few options. So you either have a big, heavy cannon that was very slow, or you could do weak, quick stuff. And I didn't understand how good the weak, quick stuff could be at the time, so I just thought it was impossible.
Yeah, you're just the bigger number means it's better.
Exactly.
And then you have a terrible rate of fire.
Exactly. It was an awful rate of fire. I would like to go back to the Armored Core series because there's a lot of them. I think there are 5 main titles.
Yeah, I was going to say there are 5 numbered titles, but then there are expansions or spin-offs, 4.
Tons of them.
4 Answer.
Yeah.
There's the PSP titles. There's a bunch.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to them. I also wanted to mention, let me see here. There was...
Well, while you're looking, one last thing I wanted to mention was I said the FromSoft's horror title. There's one other that might count, which would probably be Deracine, which is for the PlayStation VR. It's weird because it's rated T for teen, but on the back it's from the makers of Bloodborne, this super blood heavy rated M fucked up game. I don't know.
Is that the one that they ended up doing with George R.R. Martin?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know that they were working with
I think it has
George
European style fairies though, where they're not Tinkerbell.
No, this one is a different, but yeah, I definitely want to play this.
Are you thinking maybe Elden Ring, the game that hasn't come out yet?
Yeah, it's Elden Ring. Yeah, you're right. The only other thing that I was going to mention is they are also famous. A lot of people forget this because the publisher was Capcom. But they also made the original Steel Battalion game, or all the Steel Battalion games. So
they made the 360 Connect one?
Yeah, they made all 3.
Oh, there are 3 of them?
Well, yeah. So there's Steel Battalion, and then which was for the OG Xbox, which is the mech game that's known for having the big realistic fuck-off controller, and pedals and everything to go with it, and the second game was just called Line of Contact, which is the multiplayer game.
Okay.
And then the third game was a Kinect-only title, and a terrible one at that.
That's what I heard,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it had a cool concept, but it didn't work properly. It didn't...
Yeah, because the Kinect was a piece of junk.
Yeah. The Kinect is good for simple things,
Yeah.
And... This had you operating a very complicated piece of machinery.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of the Wiimote. With action replay, with how embarrassing. With
you get all your Pokemon with that.
Yeah. What was this is embarrassing. What's the enhancement to the Wiimote called? The one
Uh,
the Wii Motion Plus.
Wii Motion Plus, yeah.
Not even close. What was I thinking?
Actually, pretty
But like
funny.
the original Wiimote though, like it was not designed to make like these ultra sophisticated movements. The Wiimote really shines when you're doing basic things that look bigger than they
Pointing at
are.
the screen,
Yeah,
aiming.
or like Metroid Prime, like whipping it out and then pulling it back to do the grapple move. That's not a sophisticated movement, but it feels cool when you do it. No more heroes.
No more
Just wave
heroes.
it.
Yeah, just waving,
Just
flailing.
you're supposed to take the nunchuck and Wiimote and pull them up and then to the right and then back, but the game doesn't
Yeah,
really care.
doesn't care.
Just do it.
They want you to have fun with that game, so it was
Yeah.
programmed in a way where you didn't need to be precise, which was the right way to go.
Yes.
But yeah, those were the main ones I wanted to mention. I mean, there's some other obscurities in there like Ninja Blade, Enchanted Arms, which is an RPG that was pretty popular on the 360 when that first came out. There weren't really any JRPGs for that system for a very long time, and Enchanted Arms was like the game that kind of broke that people were enjoying early on. It's of course was nothing special, but in a time when people were starved for content, it was a big deal back then.
Probably the last things I'll mention are Echo Knight. There are actually 3 Echo Knight games. Mm-hmm. America got 2 of them. Echo Knight Beyond is the other one
it's
on
the
PS2.
Third one, yeah.
Yeah, but there's an Echo Knight 2,
yep.
which was also on PS1 and was Japan only, and it recently got a fan translation. The last thing I want to mention is, I won't be playing this one, but Spriggan, it's like a video game based on the anime of the same name, I believe.
Yeah, so Spriggan, I actually have some history with that. Compile, the makers of Zanuck and Gunnak and a bunch of other really great shmups. They actually made and Musha and Elise and all those other ones. They also made a couple shmups based off Spriggan. In fact, they play very similarly to Musha, and they're a lot of fun.
Regarding shoot 'em ups based on an anime, this is really kind of off topic, but I'm just reminded of like, did you know there was a Cowboy Bebop game on the PS1?
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Whoa, what was that like? But like, you play as like the pink ship and you're just shooting stuff. It's like, oh, I guess that does make sense, but
Yeah, it's kind of like Ghost in the Shell. You don't play as the main character. You play as like the
it's
Ichikoma
like
or whatever.
Yeah, it's like technically correct, but not at all what you'd imagine when you're like, oh, I'm gonna play a Cowboy Bebop game. I wonder what weird attitudes and adventures I get into.
Yeah,
like,
you would think that it was like a 3D beat 'em up kind of game or something like that.
I would have expected, like, for Cowboy Bebop, I would have expected like a visual novel or something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a shooter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most anime have very disappointing adaptations of video on video games. Like even Evangelion only has like one really good action game, and it's for the N64.
Doesn't it only have one game at all?
Oh no, it has all kinds of visual novels and other stuff.
Oh, visual.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, by the way? I saw this on a YouTube video. On the N64 game, if you go for the option to wipe your memory, like to delete your save file, it's called Third Impact. That's fucking great.
Wow.
That's so good.
Rough. I'm so fucked. But anyway.
Yeah. I'm so fucked up. No. It was what the fuck is... Was it I'm so fucked up or what the fuck is wrong with me?
It can be any of those. It can be any of those. I'm so fucked. I'm fucked up. What the fuck is wrong with me? It's the same sentiment.
Depends on the translation. Yeah,
it's the same idea. It's like he did something really gross and disgusting and terrible and awful, and he is sick of himself, and he should be.
Yeah, so he's finally gotten in line with the rest of the people watching the show.
Yep.
People love Evangelion, but do not like Shinji.
He is one of the worst main characters ever.
I forgot. Have you seen Razafon?
No, I've never seen Razafon. Yeah.
Razafon, it's not religious imagery, it's musical allusions. But more importantly, Razafon is basically Evangelion if the Shinji character was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. It's like so much more watchable for that reason alone.
Well, Evangelion had reasons for the way it was.
No, I know, but in Razafon, he's like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" And they're like, "You better get in the mech and stop him." He's like, "Well, if I have to," and he fucking does it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was easy.
Apparently, I haven't watched this, and I should have, because like, it took forever to come out here. But the third Evangelion rebuild movie, apparently, like Shinji does like the worst thing he's ever done in any form of Evangelion.
That's one of those things where it's like,
what did he even do?
I'm intrigued just for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like he's already a piece of shit. But like the second movie is really great, and you also really connect with Shinji. Like he's at his best in the second rebuild movie. That's kind of why I didn't even want to move forward, because it's that good. Like it's probably the best Evangelion thing is that second rebuild movie.
Even better than the end of Evangelion.
All of it. I would actually say that watching that movie is like really good. On like if you watch the first rebuild and the second rebuild movie, that's all you need to watch, because it was a lot of fun.
I don't know. I kind of like the part where he's holding Kaoru on a still image for like literally 4 minutes or something while classical music plays.
Oh, God.
That was pretty good. I remember watching that on like I forgot if it was DVD or VHS, but I remember like Perry was over and watching it, and we were like, okay, we get the idea, and we hit fast forward, and the image just isn't changing. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
After you already got sick of it, which is the funny thing.
Like, really?
But yeah, I mean, it's a landmark, awesome series in its own right, but it's not perfect, for sure, and. That's kind of what makes it interesting. Is it's very odd.
Yeah.
But the third movie apparently like tears everything that you liked about him in the second movie away from you. It's like really traumatizing. Apparently, which is what makes it great. Apparently, but
Evangelion in general is traumatizing, so I get that. But like,
yeah, I have it and I want to watch it, but you know, the fourth movie's coming out sometime this year, apparently. So,
yeah, so they say.
Well, it keeps getting delayed, but this last delay wasn't their fault. Let's put it that way. All right. Well, let's move on to fan stuff. We went over like a lot of really good tentpole items and some obscurities that are worth looking at.
Yeah, FromSoft, BestSoft. Mm-hmm. All right. So for comments, we have one comment. So this is Living Corpse responding to our response to his own question about quantum computers. So he says, quantum computers and supercomputers in general need the super low temperature because for a long time we couldn't make superconductors in room temperature or run at room temperature like semiconductors, though we did recently make superconductors at room temp with graphon, but still have to test its lifespan. They recently were able to get quantum computers to run at a slightly higher temperature, not room temperature, but getting there. Now companies spend thousands instead of millions to run them. Also, while the fear of hackers using them to decrypt has some truth in it, they also mean they are a new means to encrypt. I've been researching them a lot lately, and it turns out they're not the end-all be-all we thought they would be. It's more likely we'll make hybrid computers of both normal and quantum parts once we found a way around the room temperature problem. But can it run Crysis Remake?
Or Witcher 1?
Yeah, can you run Witcher 1? You got some next level PC, right? I remember when I played Witcher 1, like I forgot
killed
what
my
year
computer
it came out.
at the time.
I played it like a few years ago, so I was like, oh, okay, but like considering that was like what, 2007 or something? Like that's like mind-blowing.
Well, back when it came out, I had a really nice Dell XPS laptop that I had back in college. That I used, when we were hanging out back in grad school, and even that, which was good by the standards back then, couldn't run the damn thing.
That was, I mean, like, again, you can play it today.
Yeah.
But if you just think carefully while you're playing it about what year it came out, you're like, how did they even do that?
Yeah, like. Then you think back on it and realize how stupid that is, because like you are really cutting out like so many people that would want to play your game out of your audience.
Well, yeah, like everybody's first Witcher game was the second game.
Yeah,
because it was on console.
It was on console, yeah, and it ran well on contemporary PCs at the time too. So
yes. So now for our question. I'm going to like where this one's going. School Filmer asks, any favorite Easter eggs in games and other media? It could be anything from a simple, hey, you're not supposed to be here message, like Duke Nukem 3D, literally, you're not supposed to be here, the level lord, or something completely different. In Amnesia, there's this one hole in the ceiling which you can very painstakingly grab like every box in the nearby area to make this giant thing you can climb, and when you finally get up there, there's just a sign that says hi. Like, it's in Swedish, but it translates to just like hi. Like, thanks.
One of my favorites is so Contra Shattered Soldier is one of the best and most difficult Contra games. It demands perfection from you, to the point where you not only have to survive everything, but kill everything and every part of everything. You can't just kill the bosses.
Brutal.
You have to kill every part on them.
To unlock the secret last level or something.
To even see what the final boss is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you finally get through the entire game, including the last boss, without dying at all, you are treated to not what the best ending is, because the best ending is right under that. I think you can get like 1 or 2 deaths and still get the best ending. But the ending after that, out of nowhere, Sparkster from Rocket Knight Adventures shows up, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then it ends.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Well, that's it. That's great.
And you just spot him, and he shows up, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then the game just fucking ends.
That's fantastic. Well, this is one we mentioned in Reactive. I don't know if this necessarily counts as an Easter egg, but in Assassin's Creed 2, that Italian uncle of yours who says, "It's a me, Mario." Yeah. Like, that's just brilliant. Regarding other media, again, I don't know if you would quite count this as an Easter egg, but in John Wick 2, Keanu Reeves' character, John Wick, meets, I forgot the name of the guy, or if they even name him, but Lawrence Fishburne's character, the guy who has all the pigeons, who he gets his information from. And like, when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne together again. I haven't seen them together since like The Matrix. But like, Lawrence Fishburne's character's like, oh, we've met each other once a long time ago. And like, after that, he talks about how like John Wick had injured him or something. But I was like, was that a wink at The Matrix?
It absolutely is. In fact, you've seen the third movie, right?
Yeah, guns, lots of guns.
Yeah, they make several references to Matrix, actually to the point where I think that there may be some kind of crossover to them.
I don't. I think it's the directors being cute, but it's still very funny.
Well, The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 are supposed to release on the same day, intentionally.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that makes me... I don't know. There could be something in there. So
I'll watch the movies, but right now I'm going to say no. It's a reference to a movie.
Yeah, but they could be getting really cute with it. So who the hell knows?
Well, they are getting really cute with it.
Yeah, but that's a good Easter egg. I actually like Easter eggs that happen with anytime there's a really super serious game, and then you work really hard to find something, and it's something cute, like
just like the Sega arcade games, like when you beat Golden Axe.
Yeah,
everybody just jumps out of an arcade machine. What? That's not an Easter egg. It's just the ending.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
I was gonna say in Doom 3, like one of the last things that you could do is one of the last secret areas. You could find the dope fish. In it.
Oh yeah, the dope fish is in every, what was it, like, id game?
Yeah, I mean, it was going back. It's a character from the Commander Keen games.
Commander Keen.
Yeah, yeah, he's one of the one of the enemies in the game.
There's also that Super Turkey Puncher 3 or whatever, and if you beat the high score in it, you get a unique like PDA thing, which it's a congratulatory message, but it's very backhanded. It's like, congratulations on...
You wasted your time.
This is what you dedicated your time to. Yeah. You put so much time and effort into, like, this. What an achievement. Like, that kind of thing. Again, this is not an Easter egg. But you know that PS3 game, Eat Lead, The Revenge of Matt Hazard? Or Return of Matt Hazard? When I beat the game, all of a sudden a trophy popped up that was for some like multiplayer thing, and I was like, what? And if you go look at the trophy description, it's like the description is something like wait, this game doesn't have multiplayer? We'll just give you the trophy for it anyway. It's like, that's amazing.
One of the more interesting things that I know of, I don't know whether you count this as an Easter egg or just being sneaky, but did I ever tell you about the creator of Howard the Duck and his saga with the IP?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the creator of Howard the Duck, of course, was a Marvel creation from back in like the 80s. It was like basically like a comedic character that could do anything basically in space and all that kind of stuff. Well, he left Marvel, and Marvel retained the rights to Howard the Duck. And what he ended up doing was he ended up creating his own like rip-off duck character, who's not a rip-off because he's his own creation, but
well, yeah, it's like the clock tower guy making Night Cry because he can't make clock tower.
He's Howard the Duck in anything but name, right, and appearance. And what he ended up doing was he had this. He was able to do a collaboration with Marvel with his personal character that he went to Image with, and Marvel with Howard the Duck, so they could be on the same screen and have an adventure together. Well, he did this really sneaky thing where at the end it got really chaotic, and Howard the Duck and this duck got cloned a whole bunch of times. But if you were really paying attention, what happened was one of the clones ended up being left in Howard the Duck's place, and the real Howard the Duck ended up going back and taking the place of the one that he had made up. So he effectively stole his own character back.
That's
great. So Howard the Duck actually is not the real Howard the Duck, is actually with him in his Image comic now, and
that's amazing.
And the one that he left behind in the Marvel universe is a clone of the original one.
All right, I got there was one Easter egg in Doom 2016. You could find a skeleton of a guy wearing the Skyrim helmet, and he has an arrow in his knee. But no, regarding comic books, though, I got a pretty good one. I found this on one of those articles somewhere, things you may not have known. But there are apparently these two guys, I guess they're friends. They have names, but they never say them out loud. I don't think they have lines. But it's kind of a collaborative thing. Like, you know how... I don't think they use this anymore, but you know how when people made a movie they're really not proud of?
Yeah.
They would say it's directed by Alan Smithy. Yeah. So there's no such person as Alan Smithy, but like multiple directors are like, this is by Alan Smithy. Well, it's kind of like that with these two characters in Marvel, DC, whatever. They're kind of like extras, like in a crowd or something that you might notice across various comics, various properties. Doesn't matter. They're just kind of there, like as sort of like an in joke among various just comic artists who actually put the pages together. So like, just look for them. I don't remember what their names are, but like I think if you search for like recurring like Easter egg characters in like comic books or whatever, they might come up. It's just kind of entertaining. So like they're always drawn differently because they're different artists, and they're just around. It's just kind of I just get a kick out of stuff like that.
That's cool.
Also, there's one other thing. This anecdote's gonna fall flat because I don't remember what the other half of it was. But there's this character, I want to say Darkman is one of the halves of this.
Darkman? Wow.
Yeah, the other half, I forgot what it was. Like Manimal or something. I don't remember.
Manimal?
But apparently, I don't remember if it was that or some other character or what. But Darkman and somebody else had like the weirdest crossover ever, where there was like an episode or something where you could see the other... Like they're walking down the street and you could see the other character on the other side of the street, but like from the other character's TV show, they have like the same shot in reverse where you see the other character
the other,
like at the far end of the frame. And it's like, that was weird. You know, like some little just cute little thing like that. Like it's just like blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think we went over that pretty well here. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube, SoundCloud pages. This was a really good one. I enjoyed the Easter egg discussion here. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. Maybe we'll get another 200 episodes out of this.
Yeah, hopefully by next week.
Yeah. We'll work really hard for you, we swear. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for a sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, which, if you count Reactive, we've done way more than 200 episodes.
That is true. We've done 200 weeks, but ever since we recorded 2 episodes in a day, there's been a lot more episodes going down.
Yeah, I mean, I forget when we did the transition to having we used to cut up our episodes into 2 chunks.
Yes.
And then we went into reactive, and then we changed the format after that and have stuck this way ever since.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could just look up in our videos, you can look up reactive and see whatever the first one was, and that's when we split.
But yeah, we never missed a week of that either. So we've been doing good. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything, and we will be back again for another episode of Reactive on Tuesday.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Well, that's just lovely. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you again soon on Tuesday. Catch you then.
Until episode 201, everyone.
No, Tuesday for reactive. Actually.
Do the whole podcast over.
Just scrap the whole thing.
Scrap the whole thing.
Scrap the whole show. That was it. 200
Cancel
episodes. That's all you get.
Yeah, that's all you get.
You won't be slapping your Willy around no more.
Do not touch Willy. Good advice.
Nibble through my ballsack. Anyway.
Oh, that one. Ugh. Love the smarch weather.
Stupid monkey. All right. We will catch everybody soon on Tuesday. Catch you then.
Bye-bye.